evening, Lagos. Good evening, Nigeria. And good evening to our loyal listeners. And you're welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Kike. I want to use this medium to congratulate week 1 winners. You guys have been very awesome. Today's giveaway will be the gift card from Ada Small and a weekend at the hotel. Today we're focusing on what interrupted the educational fair around the world. It is the BBC investigation report titled Sex for Grades. Kike Modi, a BBC reporter, did an hour video reporting on how lecturers coercing female students for intimate relationship in exchange for academic favors. This includes lecturers from Unilag, that's Lagos, Nigeria, and University of Ghana, Accra. I'm not alone today, as I have the CEO of Inspiration FM. Oh, I need my bell, please. It's Shakara for life. He's no other than Mr. Azubike Osumili. I so much admire this man. I'm sure he's not aware, but he's been a great support system for me. So I have with me Mr. Azubike Osumili. He will be sharing his thoughts, not in his official capacity, but in the capacity as a father and as a good citizen of Nigeria. It started with the initial hashtag for Sex for Marks, and he exposed an OAU lecturer, Professor Iyola Akindele, who requested for sex to pass his student Monica back in 2018. He was sentenced to 2 years imprisonment, and ever since then, eyes have been watching. Fast forward 1 year later, Kike Modi's report was released, and it caused a big stir everywhere with the hashtag Sex for Grade. At this point, let's ask our guest, because it's my guest today, our CEO of Inspiration IFM, to share his thought on this issue. When you first heard this issue, what came to mind, sir?
It's not a new issue, really, Kike. If you have been following the news and you understand that every day this kind of stories come out. Sometimes they're not big. Sometimes there's scandals that are swept under the floor, and it doesn't have essence. But the brave Kike Modi and the BBC iNews team, I think, really kept, they kept their attention on this one. And because of the way they carried out the investigation, especially the spread of that report that covered not just Nigeria, but also Ghana. So there was an international feel to it, and it was very hard to throw this one away. But as human beings, I mean, we all know that we live in a society where, to a large extent, things like this are seen as maybe antisocial and sometimes covered up. But I think that era is past. We'll now have to be able to talk about these things. And I think Kike Modi and her team tried to put their attention on this one. That's why it went global. It's a big story. It hasn't been able to go away.
Yes.
Even today, the National Assembly has been discussing a new bill, anti-sexual harassment bill, that they are bringing forth to try to curb all of these things. President Buhari, who is usually very reticent about issues like this, spoke up in a big press statement, condemned what has happened and what is happening, especially in Nigerian higher institutions. This does not end in the University of Lagos, Kike.
Yes.
Everywhere you go, if you need to hear stories from almost everybody you know, especially females, about what they have gone through. You hardly speak to 3 females and one doesn't have a story about one lecturer having tried to do this.
I agree with you. I think this leads to another question that I'm going to ask you, because as a father, how would you feel if your daughter came home and reported this situation? What do you think that you can do differently as a parent?
The first reaction will be emotional, straight. I'll be emotional. I'll feel very bad. I'll feel like going to catch that man and deal with him and really call him out. And of course, take a pound of flesh, But these are the matters where you have to, keep a calm head, ask questions, know indeed what happened, and let the law take its place. What, as a father, you need to do is ensure that the matter is not swept under the carpet. You ensure that it doesn't end. Whatever you have to do, if you have to hire lawyers, if you have to go to court, if you have to involve the police because it's Nigeria, you really need to do that to ensure that any man who has tried to harass a woman, sexually, try to obtain sexual favors by force, by threat or intimidation, is called out. I think it's been happening before, and they found with. I mean, look at the story of Professor Igbenibu. He talked about a place in the University of Lagos they call the Cold Room. You can imagine what happens in that place.
Exactly.
I mean, very, very senior people in society. Lecturers are looked upon as role models. They're supposed to have a place of trust in society. You have to trust the lecturer. But they go up to the cold room and do these things. So I mean, you have to keep a calm head and ensure that the law takes its course, especially because if you act irrationally, you're likely going to commit a crime, against another crime, and then you might lose at both ends. So if, for instance, I hear that this has happened to a child of mine, after the anger has gone down, I'll keep my head in the calm place and begin to pursue it dedicatedly until I'm sure that whoever has committed this crime faces the law.
There's another angle that I want you to contribute, sir, before you leave the studio. Yeah. I believe strongly that I've seen a lot of videos online and a lot of people saying that yes, that the lecturers are always the one coming at the student. But again, let's look at it from another angle. Could it be possible that some students actually offer their bodies to lecturers in exchange for grades? Because I believe strongly that there are some situations that I've heard from other people where you find out that students are not actually ready to read. They are not actually ready to invest in their studies, and they go to these lecturers and ask for exchange if they offer the lecturers their body. What's your take on this, sir?
I really do not agree with the fact that because that happens, because there's a possibility that there might be students who will throw themselves around. I mean, in society, everything happens. Those kind of things might happen. But once you are on the other side, you hold a place of trust. Not just because a woman throws her body at you. There are other things. As a university lecturer, where you have to be disciplined enough to control yourself. Self-discipline is hard, but it's very important that in a matter like this, whoever is on the other side, I'm talking about the lecturers now on this side, either male or female, to be able to have self-control. You cannot lose your self-control and then blame someone for doing it. I mean, it clearly is against you. And because in the time past, society looks at it the other way, every time this happens, they blame the other side and say it's the female, and she takes the blame. I think that has changed now. You must be able to understand that even as a man, there's a place of responsibility. And an issue like that should bring out the best of your behaviors. I think there's a place of self-control and self-discipline. A university lecturer, even if a woman throws himself at her, should have a self-control, self-discipline to resist it and do what is right already, because he has been placed in a position of trust and responsibility to espouse that. And even if eventually a woman throws himself at him, you should resist him and do what is normal. I've seen lecturers report female students to the higher authorities to say that it's sexual harassment. It can't be one side. It can be both sides. The man should also be able to report it. As such.
I agree with you, Mr. Azu, and I know that the best of men are men, but we know that in a situation like this where there are some men who are actually weak and they are seeing a woman throwing themselves or throwing herself at him. Do you understand? There was a lecturer in Ghana that spoke of a female student who sent him nude pictures of herself and a blank check for exam script along with her phone number. What do you make of that?
If he has self-discipline, he will return the script and the blank check and do what is right. Mark her scripts according to the oath he has taken as a university lecturer and uphold that oath if he has self-discipline. If he doesn't have self-discipline and he goes ahead, it doesn't make it right. It's wrong in every shade.
All right, Lagos, Nigeria, you've heard it all from our CEO, Inspirational FM. I'm curious to hear your thoughts, so please call in and share your thoughts and understand that we're going to be picking our judge. So I think there's a caller at the moment. Yeah, hello?
Yeah, hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, please. What's your name and where you calling from?
Yeah, my name is Anthony. I'm calling from Yaba.
Okay. What's your contribution for the topic today?
Okay, so regard to the sex for grades thing, I think since it came out, I think it's beyond sex. I mean, let me say it like this: sex is available. Sex is sold in this country, in the countries that were investigated.
Okay.
What's happening is, I think it's a power thing. So someone sees someone in a position of power and sees somebody that sort of is in a bit, if I put it like, answerable to him, and the person decides to sort of abuse that power. It just happens that now sex is part of it, so to say. Because think about it, if you're a female student and you were not in that position, if that lecturer did not have that power over you as a lecturer, it can't happen. I mean, they won't be abused. So for me, it's big. There's a sex issue, but it's abuse of power. That's why I tend to read it. As happens with many other things in our country. Someone sees someone that is under him and decides to sort of take advantage of the person.
Oh, okay. Thank you for your contribution. I think I will take you further by also adding that in most organizations today, you realize that even the bosses, the employers, try to abuse the staff, and at the end of the day, you realize that they are weak because they are expected. This is where their livelihood is coming from. Hence the reason why they fall into just accepting whatever thing that the boss is trying to say. But I think we have another caller on the line. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. What's your name and where are you calling from, please?
This is Favor calling from Ikorodu.
Thank you. What's your contribution towards today's topic?
I want to contribute that the sex surveillance issue is something that we all know didn't start today. And so we shouldn't just sit down here and start saying that, oh, the lecturer should do this, the lecturer should do that. We, on our part, should take a vital role in setting inside out. For example, this, charity begins at home, as they say.
Yes.
The female children or the male children, because I don't want to categorize only to the female, so it will seem as if I'm gender related or something. But the female children should be trained well in order to know that the dignity and their status as being a virgin is the greatest asset they might even have. Correct. So when they do such a thing, they won't just go into any lecture, throw themselves in and feel that is gratification for maths. No. And the lecturers too should express control, as the CEO also said. The lecturers should, as a result of being man enough, to be able to control themselves, and this will go a long way in stemming this side out these two competitions.
Okay, thank you so much. I think we have a message on our WhatsApp that says that I had the same experience in my days at OOU, formerly OSU. One of my lecturers made it clear to me that I wouldn't graduate unless I sleep with him. It took the intervention of my guardian, who had to lie to him that I was HIV positive. Oh wow, God forbid. Before he let me go. Eventually, the lecturer was killed by cultists. A lot of these acts are very rampant in schools from way back and even now. And I think I will use this opportunity to just say something. One of my very close friends, I actually don't have a lot of friends, but the few ones I have, I can count them in one hand. We both went to the same university. I finished from Igbinedion. And when we're talking about this issue 2 nights ago, she made me understand that she was sexually harassed by one of our lecturers, and that lecturer was the last person I was expecting it from. And it was shocking. This is a friend that I've known for over a decade, and she was just sharing this information with me. And the reason why she was able to get herself out of these lecturers was because our own father, who is very comfortable, was actually paying the man, was constantly giving the man money so that he can let go of his child, and that was the only course she failed in her history in Igbinedion. So just imagine how many years it took her to even open up. And this is a close friend that we see virtually every day. We talk every day, and all of this is happening. And I'm wondering, is it the same school I went to? So it takes a lot for people to come out. But I also want us to understand that there are a lot of women too who are found wanting by throwing themselves at these lecturers because they have nothing to offer, and they believe that by the exchange of their body is the only way they can actually graduate from school. I think this will lead to we have another caller on the line. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, please. What's your name and where are you calling from, please?
Myself from Shongutelu.
Okay, thank you. What's your contribution for today?
Yeah, it's very important for us to keep talking about this. But beyond talking about this, and I'm happy that it has gained the kind of attention that it deserves, but beyond talking about this, we need to now begin to talk also about how do we protect those few young ladies that are able to speak out. Because it is the fact that they feel vulnerable is the reason why some of these lecturers, male lecturers, take advantage of them or attempt to take advantage of them and abuse them. Now, if we begin to protect them and almost immediately serve justice, you see, when justice is delayed, then the perpetrator feels like he or she has gotten away with it. Right. If if we are able to put laws, and not just make the laws, but also pursue them vigorously and judiciously to ensure that within a space of 2 months, that person has been tried, indicted, if he's found not guilty, if he's declared not guilty, but if he's found guilty within 2 months, he's sent to jail, he's punished for his acts. That will quickly serve as a deterrent to other people. But I think we must continue to talk about this, and we must continue to encourage people, the young ladies that have
opened up
through this kind of situations. We must encourage them to talk more, and the ones that talk, we need to protect them. And we must also, looking at it, that's what we must do right now. But to deal with these issues going forward, it's also a reflection of the moral decadence in our society. So what can we do 20 years from today or 30 years from today to ensure that by that time we do not have these kind of issues again? What kind of training do we need to begin to administer to our kids, the male children, and even the female children? What kind of trainings, what kind of morals do we need to begin to instill strategically in them, such that they understand even from a very tender age that you cannot be doing this kind of thing for a male child, and for a female child you cannot be throwing yourself as a lecturer for those who throw themselves as their lecturers and all, or who think that they can use their body to get whatever they desire.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your contribution. Point taken. We've heard it all. Our CEO have thrown a lot of light and points on where we can work collectively as individuals, as states, as universities, as a nation, federal level, and all of that, to make sure that we curb all of this act and change the narrative. I believe strongly that we have a lot of skills in us. I believe that we need to be kind to one another. I believe that we have to make sure that the people who are in the university environment are comfortable enough to walk up to you when they have challenges. But before we go, I think for those who have contributed towards today's episode, we have Anthony Ekene, and we have Favor, who also called in, Abimbola Abiodun, and Mike from Strongotedo. We would be posting the winner of this week's episode on our social handle, and we can also call you out next week. But before we go, I think the quote for the day, especially for students, is that there is no shortcut to success. Let's always remember that. And secondly, for those in authorities, if you are in a place of authority, do not take advantage of those around you or abuse power.